Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And this is the NXT we've been waiting for. Tonight was all about freshness. We got a fresh women's matchup in Billie versus Santana Garrett that was awesome. We also got freshness in the sense of maybe a particular singles future in Buddy Murphy, who had a clinic with Kota Ibushi. And we even got some progress with TakeOver Brooklyn. We now have confirmed our main event, Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura. This was a thoroughly entertaining hour of NXT. Partner, what'd you think of it?
Well, I already said on TWitWoW that this was my favorite episode of NXT of 2016. So, unless you count takeover specials, which I don't consider to be episodes of NXT TV, this is the best NXT TV show of the calendar year so far.
And I would echo those sentiments wholeheartedly. I mean, again, I love the freshness we got. This was kind of the NXT, and I don't want to speak for you, partner, but I'm assuming anyway, this is the NXT that we both kind of envisioned happening because their hand would have been forced post-draft. Now, NXT's hand wasn't necessarily forced given the picks that were made, but it's nice to see Billie get a nod. It's nice to see Buddy Murphy have a competitive singles match. You know, these are all things that I think you and I have really been waiting for, and the idea that NXT really listened on this one night definitely paid dividends.
Let me put it this way. When TM61 is the low point of your show, it's a pretty damn good show, because those guys are great.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. So with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And honestly, no heats the night tonight, no nitpicks. I'd almost feel like it'd be hypocritical if I had a nitpick, given that they gave us, what we asked for. We got new stuff, and I'm just so thrilled about that. So yeah, this is great. What about you?
I think my only nitpick is the abrupt ending. If you would have had something develop from that ending segment with Joe, Nakamura, and Regal, I would have called this like the perfect game, but you just left me hanging there, and it wasn't in a way that made me really want to see what happens next week, unless you're magically going to pick up where you left off.
Right. I can see where you're coming from there, because, I mean, we'll get more into context, I guess, in the actual review. So for now, but I will say I do agree with where you're coming from. So
and I
do have
one other nitpick, though.
Okay.
Another women's championship match contract signing. Can we please do something different?
Yeah, that would be pretty nice, I think.
I mean, it didn't actually happen tonight, but Regal blatantly said we were going to have a contract signing, and I feel like every women's championship match at a takeover gets a contract signing, and it's beginning to feel superfluous.
Yeah, it's almost become like a staple of big NXT women's championship matches.
It's been getting done so often, it's become an NXT trope.
Yeah. I would much prefer, because it's the rematch and because Asuka ended Bayley's dream and everything, just, a final face-to-face confrontation. We can assume that the match is made and the women get maybe like 10 minutes, final 10 minutes of NXT to really express their thoughts to one another about their matchup. That, to me, is hype. You don't need to go and have paper sign when we know that the match is going to happen. I mean, the only time really at this point you should do a contract signing is if you're going to subvert expectations and not do the match anyway. And just be like, oh, well, since the contract signing didn't go down, now it's up in the air. Like, who's going to do what? But we know the match is going to happen, so I feel like it's kind of a moot point at this point to even have segments like that. So yeah, I get what you're saying there.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we can agree on those 2 points then. Let's move on.
All right, let us get right into our NXT review. And we open things up with Wesley Blake versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, while Wesley is making his entrance, we see like an earlier today kind of segment, Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy, they're arguing. Wesley Blake didn't appreciate Buddy Murphy abandoning him, with Rhino's return, goring everybody. And then Buddy Murphy's like, well, you left me with Alexa, so, we're even now. And, Wesley Blake's like, oh, I thought we were past all this. And Wesley Blake asserts, I was the leader of the team. I'm the reason why all of our success happened. And, I'm going to do what you couldn't do. I'm going to beat Shinsuke Nakamura. And then Buddy Murphy retorts, oh, really? Well, I'll do you one better. I'm going to beat the favorite of the Cruiserweight Classic tonight, or one of the favorites in the Cruiserweight Classic tonight. And we would later find out that Buddy Murphy was referring to Kota Ibushi. So Buddy Murphy versus Kota Ibushi was going to be a match. So we get Wesley Blake versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Some offense by Blake here. He gets a nice lariat. I think he even mocks Shinsuke's foot shivers. But it's too much for Wesley to overcome, Ashton.
Well, Nakamura is undefeated, and that's probably not going to change until Brooklyn.
Exactly.
So it was a solid showing from Blake. I'm not going to try and take anything away from him because he did more than I kind of expected from him. I kind of had a moment tonight with Wesley Blake that I feel like a lot of people had tonight with No Way Jose and Buddy Murphy, who are two guys that you and I have been really ahead of the curve of.
Exactly.
So, Wesley Blake, that lariat that he threw was gorgeous. That would make JBL jealous.
Oh, I agree with you there. Of course, as I said to you earlier, it proved to be too much. Shinsuke hitting his sequence and, kind of punctuating it, inverted exploder, and then the Kinshasa knee, knocks Blake out, gets the 3 count, Nakamura rolls on, and we know where he's rolling on too, because in the post-match, Regal comes out, and he says, I wish Joe was here to hear this, but you're here to hear it. So at TakeOver Brooklyn 2, it's going to be Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. Yeah. And that's our title match.
Yeah, he just kind of sets it up, and he's like, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah, I like it. Short, sweet, to the point. It comes off the heels of another Nakamura victory, so no wasted motion. I like this. Is there anything else you want to say about it?
I think Nakamura beating Balor was all that you really needed for this.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Let's move on. Billie Kay versus Santana Garrett. Before we talk about the match, I want to talk about theme songs, because they were both awesome.
Yes.
Billie Kay had like an awesome electronic remix of Habanera. Santana Garrett had a violin remix of Emma's theme song. These were both great theme songs.
Oh, absolutely. I was trying to place my finger, like, where have I heard that beat before?
Yeah, you know what the giveaway is for Santana Garrett? It's the in the music. That's what it is. That's the giveaway that makes it sound so much like Emma's song. It's hilarious.
Right, but yeah, the violin rendition is gorgeous. Billie Kay's theme is fantastic. And partner, I'm going to give you the reins on this one because I know you've been a big advocate of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. What did you think of this matchup here?
One last comment on the theme song. I think it's funny that a lot of people in the NXT live thread on Reddit were saying that Santana's theme song was like an homage to both Emma and Shinsuke Nakamura because of the violin work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They're both. And it's funny that I bring that this kind of combines their styles because for the longest time, before she got injured, I was referring to Emma as the queen of strong style.
That's right. Yeah.
So, man, Santana Garrett. Either she is really similar to me when it comes to just who she likes watching wrestle, or coincidence, which is much more likely.
Exactly.
So the match itself was solid. I mean, it wasn't anything exceptional. I don't want to try and overblow it like it was this amazing match of the year candidate or anything, but
right.
Billie Kay as a heel works. I've been saying this for months now when she had a random face run. It works. Keep her heel. She's so good at it.
I agree. And, I like that the catalyst for this whole push, thanks to commentary, which was on point tonight as per usual. I love Phillips and Graves together. Was talking about Billie Kay's SmackDown appearance that she had, I want to say maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And, that raised her stock in William Regal's eyes. He liked what she did in the match, even though it was a losing effort. And he wanted to give her, another opportunity on NXT. An opportunity that she makes the most of. Now, what's so interesting, Ashton, at least in my opinion, I feel like Billie Kay worked face in the SmackDown match, because I even remember a Hurricane Rana spot from Billie Kay.
Yeah, and she was working against Dana Brooke, so she didn't really have much of a choice.
Exactly, and yet she's working heel here. And the brilliance of Billie Kay really shows itself because it's really two distinctive styles. When she was working face, it seemed more high-flying, more aerial-esque.
Arm drags and Ranas, baby.
Exactly. Working heel, though, she does come off as a striker, especially with her finisher being like, well, at least, in the case of this one match, maybe it'll change up by the next match, a big boot, which I thought looked really cool.
It did. And I think that what she kind of used to do as a heel that really kind of makes her stand out is she would constantly be using her legs for offense.
Right.
It's weird because I think that there was a point in NXT over the last year or so that Peyton Royce was getting commentary talking about how she has these long legs and she likes to use them. But before NXT, Billie Kay as Jessie McKay was like the one that was using leg-based offense. So I guess that, Peyton Royce just kind of borrowed her best friend's offense from the indies. But yeah, so like you even saw some of it tonight. She did the leg choke
right
up against the ropes, which is great. And of course then the big boot. And
yes.
Yeah, she's got freakishly long legs. Like maybe not Stacy Keibler long, but still close.
Exactly, and I really, liked how she infused that limb advantage into her repertoire.
Yeah.
And I thought it was made for a very nice match. Santana Garrett got a little bit of stuff in. I think her push will come as well. Shout out to Jackie. I know Santana Garrett is her favorite women's wrestler, working the independents. I think Santana Garrett, she may be right around the corner as well. You never know with NXT. I think she has a great look to her.
I think Santana Garrett might actually low-key already be signed.
And that wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know for sure, but I've been hearing, and, again, take rumors with a grain of salt, but I've been hearing and we've always kind of heard rumbles that, Sister Abigail is going to be on the main roster and who it might be. But I've been hearing really strong rumblings about it actually happening like this year and it being Santana Garrett.
Well, hey, I mean, if there was ever a ripe time to kind of physically manifest Sister Abigail, it may be the time, knowing that Bray is doing singles on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And like that could be an interesting turn and something that I think Santana Garrett, I mean, just seeing that one photo just seems so perfect. So we'll see. But yeah, I think both women have bright futures. I enjoyed this match. And I hate to keep harping on this word, but I feel like I need to because we don't know when we're going to get it again. I love the freshness of this matchup. I love the newness of this matchup.
And the spot of the match for me, too, was that like almost like a Northern Lights mountain bomb with an arm trap that Billie Kay delivered. That was so cool.
Yeah, I like that as well. And I think, that's only the beginning of her ability. I mean, dude, let me just put it to you this way. If Billie Kay gets handled properly and we really are taking this push seriously, I could totally see her as a viable contender to Asuka in the NXT Championship.
Well, that definitely. I see Billie Kay as sort of the heel equivalent of Becky Lynch.
Right.
Like she was doing her thing, kicking ass, and really honing her craft on the indies for a long time. Got signed to NXT. Didn't really get used right. Remember, Becky had that freaking river dancer gimmick for a little bit.
Right.
And now they kind of found her niche. And Billie, once you get her in her niche, she is going to kill it. And she's going to turn a lot of lights on. She's going to get a lot of people's attention.
I completely agree, and I can't wait for that to happen.
And the thing is, too, I wish that Peyton Royce would be getting a push, but from what I remember, Peyton Royce is like 4-ish years younger than Billie Kay. So if you're going to push one of them, it makes sense that you would want to push Billie Kay now and kind of make sure that you kind of have her in the right position. Whereas with Peyton Royce, you can kind of afford to wait a little longer if you need to.
Exactly. Do I think Peyton Royce is ready for a push? Certainly,
yes.
But I think just, waiting, just letting her hone her skills more and more, it's only going to make her hungrier and better for when the push finally comes. I don't think any harm will be done.
And they're both young, but the average female's age in NXT is like 23, 24 years old, and Billie Kay's 27.
Right.
Peyton Royce falls right in line at 23, but Billie Kay is for NXT, she's a little bit on the older side. You put her on the main roster and she's one of the youngest women there. But in NXT, I guess Alexa Bliss isn't in NXT anymore, but I think Alexa Bliss is only like 22 years old. Like, it's ridiculous.
Right.
So, yeah, just the women in NXT trend young, and Billie Kay is at the upper end of the age pool in NXT as far as the women go. So it makes sense that they would want to start pushing her now.
Right.
Get her on the main roster, damn it.
Do it.
All right. So then we had a backstage segment, and this, we've already even had a comment on our NXT TWitWoW bringing this up, and I want to bring it up here too. Bayley asks William Regal for a rematch with Asuka at Back to Brooklyn, and Regal says, "You know what? That's a great idea. I'll ask Asuka if she has any objections." Why does Samoa Joe not get the same courtesy?
That's so true. Yeah, honestly, that comment kind of hit my ear wrong as well. It's like, oh, Bayley, I know you've been scratching and clawing, and, and then the two most recent victories I can remember, Bayley attaining Nia Jax, and then before that, Alexa Bliss. So, pretty much the top contenders at the time. But still, though, we just need Asuka's sign-off. So, and I'm like, what? Bayley's been gaining all of these victories, and yet you're going to defer to Asuka. Yet when Joe says he feels disrespected because he only found out about this match when he came into the building later in the night, it's like, no, Joe, I'm the authority. I love Regal, but some consistency in the character would be great.
I don't want him to go full-blown babyface GM. I like the neutral authority figure.
I like it as well.
So.
I think the authority figure with an actual alignment is a little bit played out. That's why I really enjoy Regal most of the time, because, yeah, you're right. He does take that neutral ground.
It's played out to a degree, but when you do it right a la Dario Cueto,
yes,
it's not necessarily completely played out. You just have to be able to fine-tune it and get it right. And in the context of the WWE, I think it might be completely played out for a while.
Right.
So, all right, that being said, do you have anything else to talk about as far as this whole contract signing thing coming up with Bayley and Asuka?
No.
All right, then we talk about next match, TM61 taking on a, let's just call them a young upstart team. Rob Ryzin and Adrian Nails, and I liked commentary here because they said about how, these guys are just starting as a tag team. They're really trying to find their footing in NXT and see what they can do to make an impact here. And they're trying this tag team stuff out. I like that.
Yeah, I like that as well. It doesn't completely write them off. It's not like Corey Graves calling them a bunch of jamokes or something like that. They're being taken somewhat seriously. They're being taken as young guys pursuing a dream, trying to find their footing, which I can appreciate. That said, if they're trying to find their footing, they've already made a misstep because TM61 shut that down real quick.
Yes, they did.
Really enjoying these guys. And you know what? I'm actually, if you're a TM61 fan, and I would regard myself as a TM61 fan, be grateful right now with all the frenzy going on between, the Revival, Ciampa and Gargano, and the Authors of Pain, because when the dust settles, I think that's when TM61 will be able to make a move.
I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be, it's a lot of dust that needs to settle, but I do think you're right.
Yeah, I think these guys are good enough, and I would like to hear more from them on the mic, because the last I heard, they weren't exactly the greatest, but, that's
but
what
they're
polished for.
Australian, and their accents make up for it.
You're so right. But, it would be nice if they got their own individual story and not as part of a cluster of all these other teams, which I assume Authors of Pain and Ciampa and Gargano are going to get. I'm not trying to do them a disservice. I'm just saying, it may be for the best that TM61 is further behind the line, because they'll only get more crowd exposure, they'll get more fanfare, and then the fans will be ready for them to go after those NXT tag team titles. So I think it's a blessing in disguise, personally, that all this stuff is going on with the Revival, Authors of Pain, and Ciampa and Gargano for TM61.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember if they're actually Australian or New Zealanders. I think they're Australian, though.
I thought they were Australian from past conversations you and I have had.
Yeah, it's weird, though, because I feel like I remember at Wrestle Kingdom 9, I thought that either Stryker or Ross said that they were actually from New Zealand, but I don't remember. Maybe I misheard, or maybe I'm just imagining things.
Right.
So, that being said, what did you think as far as TM61's finisher, Thunder Valley?
Oh, well, it's not the first time you and I have seen it. I remember the first time you and I remarked on it. I liked it. It was different. It's different from guys like that, because normally you expect guys that move like they do.
You know what? I think you're right, because I think I remember us saying about how it was kind of like a two-person version of the Disciples of Death's finisher.
Yeah. And I like it because it's not necessarily what you expect. I mean, again, when you look at guys like that and how they move, you're probably thinking, oh, they're going to do maybe some double off the top rope kind of crazy stuff. No, it's just a simple, we're going to pick you up and we're going to slam you down. But it looks nice, Yeah, I like it.
And the thing is, only one of these guys is flippy.
Exactly.
That's Shane Thorne.
Right.
And Shane Thorne also has the better look, in my opinion.
Yes, which I know you noted in conversation tonight. You thought Shane Thorne.
It's just because Nick Miller just looks really kind of, BJ Whitmer-esque.
Yeah.
Kind of that, and he's not short by any means, but that kind of stumpy, angry, should probably be bald, but even though that is true. He still has hair kind of guy.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think Shane Thorne has a bright future in the WWE. Nick Miller, I think, has definite mid-card potential, but I don't really see as much upside in him.
We'll see how it all pans out, man. I think it's too early for me personally to make an assessment, but you're usually right on the nose with these things, so I'm going to trust your
the
instinct.
thing is, WWE likes to use tag teams to create single stars, right?
Yes.
Well, Shane Thorne is the Shawn Michaels here.
We'll see.
So then we got a recap of the No Way Jose Austin Aries feud that's been going on for the last month or so. And we find out Jose is in action next. Do you have anything to say about the recap and the feud itself leading up to this match, or do you want to get right into the match discussion?
Let's get right into the match itself.
No Way Jose versus the newly militarized Steve Cutler.
Cashed out that trust fund, baby. What did you think of this match, man?
As powerful as the name is, as a guy that acts and dresses like this, it's probably safe to say doesn't actually have that much money.
Yeah, I think Stokely Hathaway somewhere is sipping his tea triumphantly as the only rich authority in professional wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think?
Got it on lockdown, brother.
Yeah. So what did you think of this match, though, man?
I love the fire we got from No Way Jose here. I mean, Cutler does like a pie face, and it just sets No Way Jose off. Like, man, I'm trying to have a fun match here. I'm trying to entertain my people, and you disrespect me like this. I cannot and will not stand for this. And and he gets this great, crazy look at his face. No Way Jose's crazy eyes are amazing. I would say Willie Mack levels of excellence.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about this character? And I'm not even necessarily saying a heel turn, because I think there is money here with No Way Jose as a babyface and just the performer of No Way Jose as a babyface. I just wonder if there's ever going to come a character evolution where, because clearly he responds when people are really disrespectful and he's trying to have fun and then he gets all serious. I'm wondering when we get to the point where there's no going back and he becomes this more serious but definitely very charismatic kind of babyface. But that's like the next step in his evolution. Because already seeing the... Yeah.
Kind of like Tyler Breeze.
Kind of like Tyler Breeze a little bit, yeah, except, he would keep the babyface fire because I don't want him to lose that, but it's very interesting when the cracks show.
I mean, the thing with Breeze is Breeze was never a face in the first place.
Right.
So that would you'd still be, he's not changing his alignment, he's just getting serious.
Yeah, because if you would have the seriousness that he shows combined with his promo ability, that's a main eventer right there to me, and I'm not even going to mince words. Like, I see a big main eventer there. Not that No Way Jose isn't a fun gimmick, but I think, he would hit his ceiling with that gimmick relatively soon after leaving NXT. I think, this is a business about adaptation, about, making modifications as necessary. And you once said, like, he could be this generation's, like, Rock. He could be on par with The Rock, with the charisma and everything. And I've been seeing it, what you've been saying these past few weeks, and I really just want him to tap into that. I see a very bright future for this young man.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, this guy has so much upside, and the great thing too is that, like, a lot of the time with NXT, you'll see somebody that you really like in the ring, and he can talk, but then you look at, like, his Wikipedia page and you look at his build height, and it's like 5'10".
Right.
No Way Jose is 6'3".
Right.
He's taller than John Cena.
Exactly.
I mean, I am buying so much of this guy's stock. I'm going broke doing it, but I know it's going to be worth it in the long run, because when I finally get to cash out, I'm going to be a rich man.
Exactly. And, that's the thing. I think
his stock price went up a little, actually quite a bit today, after not only this match, but that post-match promo too.
Oh, dude, the promo was straight fire.
Yeah.
Pretty much told Austin Aries, you disrespect me. I was trying to come out, trying to have fun, trying to teach you, to be positive, and you want to disrespect me. And yet, when I showed you that I could be serious, and I showed you that I could turn a fiesta into a fight, that was the quotable line right there from Jose. And I love that. He said, the greatest man that ever lived turned into the biggest coward of NXT. And pretty much promised to bring the fight to Austin Aries and just said, like, this isn't over. But yeah, I love that whole fiesta into a fight line. I thought that was so good.
Yeah, that was an amazing line. That was a memorable line. That right there is the kind of thing where if you say that on the main roster, people start showing up with signs that say that the next week, and eventually you get a shirt out of it.
Exactly. I mean, it's exactly what happened. Now, I'm not saying it's as iconic, but it's just
To
a
Steve
parallel.
Austin.
It's like a parallel. Yeah, because when he said Austin 316 at the King of the Ring the following night on Raw, Austin 316 signs in the crowd. Like, that's the relatability. So all Jose needs, and maybe this soundbite was it, but he strikes me as the kind of guy that if you keep giving him mic time, he's gonna stumble upon something.
Yep.
And they better run with it. I'm telling you. I'm glad you're buying stock. I'm slowly buying stock myself after seeing all this. I think anybody that even has an inkling that No Way Jose might be good, get on board because you're not going to want to miss this ride, I promise.
I can turn a fiesta into a fight. That is such a good
Just
line.
like that. Yeah, man.
So No Way Jose did some great stuff tonight, but another guy that I've been buying stock in for a really long time now, Murphy, had an awesome match against a Cruiserweight Classic competitor and somebody that you and I have grown quite fond of. Actually, the guy that you picked to win the G1 Climax last year, Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, dude. Now, as the big Buddy Murphy advocate, I got to know from pillar to post all your thoughts about this match, brother. What are you thinking?
Oh, I loved it. I'm telling you, I keep saying this, and it's going to click for people soon enough. Murphy reminds me of a young Australian redheaded Triple H.
Yeah.
I keep saying it, and every time I see him in the ring, it strikes me more and more. He's got it, man. He has freaking got it.
I think when you look like he does, because he's got a physique about him, unique look certainly facially, just the complete package on a physical level. And then you look at ability, like he went in there with Kota Ibushi, and they had a damn fine match. And I'll tell you something, too. Thank you to NXT, because, see, here's the thing. It's one thing to bring in more established talents, and in a way we could say that Kota Ibushi was somewhat established. I mean, his whole New Japan run. But I love that they actually made it seem at points that Buddy Murphy could have won this match. The false finishes they did, that whole sequence where he stacked Bushi up with the roll-up after the drop kick and everything, I thought Buddy Murphy had the match won, I'll be honest. And, the fact,
dude, that was such a great sequence, too.
Oh, dude, the idea that he kicked out of after getting his head kicked off by Kota, because, I mean, we may be big fans of Buddy Murphy, but I think fans that have listened to us long enough know we also are not slighting Kota Ibushi by any means. That guy is a beast. I freaking love Kota Ibushi. He kicked Buddy Murphy's head off, and he did a beautiful-looking German suplex. And when Buddy Murphy, though, was like 2 3/4, I popped, because I think with any other competitor, that would have been the match ender. And yet, already, and I like this too, just to kind of keep everything in perspective, this match really did drive home the distinction between Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy. Wesley Blake, while he got in some offense, he was more or less dominated. This was a legitimately competitive match.
Yep.
Now, I know you could also say as a counter, well, John, that's not really necessarily fair. Wesley Blake, he got the undefeated Shinsuke Nakamura, the guy competing for the NXT Championship. Kota Ibushi, while his stock is high, he's only in the Cruiserweight Classic. To which I reply, well, they still gave Buddy Murphy the competitive match in the end. If they really cared, they would have given both men competitive matches. I think they wanted to tell us, no, keep your stock in Buddy Murphy. This is the guy we're more interested in. That's what I took away from it.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to do... And the thing is, Buddy Murphy has already had a match against Nakamura.
Exactly.
So it's not like, we could have done Buddy versus Nakamura and Blake versus Ibushi tonight, because we've already seen Murphy Nakamura, and it was solid.
Exactly.
And it was probably just as much of a squash as the Wesley Blake match tonight.
Now, if you really want to keep things with Wesley Blake interesting, so we don't just completely leave him behind and focus on Buddy Murphy, even though mentally I feel like I'm already doing that, I think it would be cool, again, to kind of bring together the CWC and NXT, if next week, just fantasy booking here, we had Wesley Blake versus TJ Perkins. Because I feel like more people need to see TJ Perkins after that Cruiserweight Classic performance.
I love that that's the one name that you isolate just because of how freaking impressive he was in that match.
I mean, dude, I love Swan and Dorado to death, and I would love to see either of those guys versus TJ Perkins, but Swan's already a part of NXT, and honestly, if WWE was smart, they'd bring Lindsay Dorado as part of the Cruiserweight division on Raw when the CWC ends. That's just my opinion. TJ Perkins, who I think could also fit in that class, don't get me wrong, just give them a little taste, like major upside. So yeah, I mean, the great back and forth match between Buddy Murphy and Kota Ibushi. Love too the double knees by Murphy, and he stacks Ibushi up. That was fucking great. Yeah, man, they really made this match feel competitive, like it could have gone either way. And then Kota Ibushi with that sit out last ride kind of power bomb. I fucking love that power bomb, dude. Like I told you in conversation, I think it's one of my favorite power bombs going today in the business. Like, just so good. And Kota Ibushi gets the win.
Yeah, man, that power bomb is super legit.
Yeah, man, unequivocally.
Yeah, and Ibushi, same thing, super legit.
Exactly.
He's so good. Yeah, so Murphy, great showing. Ibushi, great NXT debut. I expect big things from both of these men going forward, and it's great to see them have what was essentially the main event spot tonight.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And that's another great point because we didn't even get a match after this, so they trusted Buddy Murphy and Kota Ibushi. Hey, guys, go out, have a good match that, will make the fans less mad, potentially about a talking segment going home on this set of tapings. So great stuff.
So then we get to our main event segment of the night. That was our main event match. This is the segment. Samoa Joe comes out.
Yes. He pretty much says, I heard Shinsuke Nakamura is getting a shot at my NXT championship. And the theme of the promo essentially is, guys, I don't think Shinsuke Nakamura is a worthy opponent. William Regal should have to answer to me. This is incredibly disrespectful to the champ. I don't think Nakamura deserves a title shot.
And for once, after this Bayley's Asuka segment, I agree with Samoa Joe.
I mean, you almost have to, right?
Yep.
Just by the fact, and see, this is how television, you gotta be careful what you put together, because fans aren't stupid. Now, admittedly, I would have let that go by if you hadn't said something, but that's why there's two of us here instead of one. Because by you picking that up, that completely invalidates any ground William Regal had to stand on for a retort to Samoa Joe's promo. Had you not had that segment, I would have been like, okay, this is very easy. You have the babyface come out, assert their authority, and then Joe, stands down, which is eventually what happened. But it is marred a little bit by William Regal's pleasantries with Bayley, like, oh, I'll talk it over with Asuka, and, we'll do all that. Oh, I'm sorry, so you answer to her? I thought you were the NXT general manager, William. Triangle snap. Anyway, so Regal does come out. And he says, I'm the authority, and you'll fight who I tell you to fight. And then Joe's like, no, not really. No, Shinsuke Nakamura doesn't deserve a championship match. You were going to go into that locker room, and you were going to find a contender that I deem acceptable. And then William Regal's just like, Joe, I'm sorry you feel that way. But if you're going to do this, I'm just going to count that as a forfeit, and then I'll take that NXT championship from you, and then it'll be Shinsuke Nakamura versus somebody else at Brooklyn. To which Joe responded, whoa. Fine, Regal, this is going to be our relationship, this is how it's going to be? Fine. I'll fight Shinsuke Nakamura at Brooklyn. But you know something? It's going to be the worst mistake you ever made, because I destroyed your golden boy, Finn Balor. And I'm going to do the same.
Destroyed him so much that he went to Raw and won 2 matches in his first night in his main eventing SummerSlam.
Yeah, thanks for the favor, asshole. That's what I would have said if I was Finn. I would have tweeted at Joe, thanks for the beating, asshole. Hope you make it on the SummerSlam. Oh. But, yeah, and then he says, I'll do the same thing to Shinsuke Nakamura. In fact, Joe says, I'll do the same thing to Shinsuke Nakamura, perhaps even earlier than Brooklyn, if I see him. Well, Shinsuke having the most incredible hearing ever, his music hits, he comes out, and the show ends. And pretty much a very Sopranos-esque kind of ending. You expect something to happen, and then we fade to black. So, nice choice there, NXT. Nice choice there. I really would have even preferred it, because they've done it before. So it's not like I would have been crazy about it, but, it would have been something. If Nakamura would have gotten in the ring, stood nose to nose long enough for fans to chant, this is awesome, because they would have, because this is awesome chants get thrown around everywhere today. And then Joe would have taken the higher ground. He would have said, no, not on my time. I'm the champ. I work you. You don't work me. And, he would have gone to the back. But we didn't even get that. Just to stare down as far apart as these two could stare each other down. So, yeah.
And that was it.
And that was it. Do you have anything you want to say about it?
No, I really don't have an opinion on this. Unfortunately, my internet actually cut out right after Samoa Joe, or actually right after William Regal told Joe about how this is my show and you're gonna fight whoever the hell I tell you to fight, kind of thing. So I didn't actually get to catch this whole thing, but even knowing that I didn't get to see it doesn't really mean anything because it doesn't sound like anything really notable happened.
Right. All right, well, with that said, let's move right along to our next segment, high spots and low shots. My low shot is Wesley Blake. Because while he can think of 1,000,001 ways to style his hair, he couldn't think of one answer to combat the king of strong style, Shinsuke Nakamura.
You had one answer.
Well, it failed.
That lariat was so good.
It was, but it wasn't good enough. Much is life. You can be really good, but even you'll be snuffed out in the end. So Wesley Blake is my low shot. Who's your low shot?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think my low shot is going to have to be Santana Garrett, because even though she put on a solid match, she got overrun by Billie Kay, and she still doesn't have her own theme song yet. It's just a rip-off of Emma's.
But it's a really good rip-off of Emma's, though.
So it is. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing, but here's the thing. If you take the best thing and rip it off, you're going to end up with something pretty good most of the time.
Yeah, that is true.
And Emma has the best theme.
Yeah, she really does.
God,
yeah.
I can't wait for her to come back from her injury, and I hope she's on SmackDown.
Oh, dude, I
really want that feud between her and Becky to happen.
Yes, dude, I want her to curb stomp everybody and kind of even Becky. Sorry, Alex Foster.
No, dude, seriously, her curb stomping Becky would get Becky so much sympathy. It'd be amazing.
But yeah, I do have to agree with you about Santana Garrett, and I also want to say as a side note, I'm sorry, Jackie, we love you, but yeah, it was just a bad night for Santana Garrett. Hopefully she bounces back, because I do see a bright future for her, but it just wasn't her time. And my high spot, this has been a little bit difficult for me.
I love that you apologize to Jackie because she's a fan. I'm sorry, Santana.
Yeah.
I know that she's listened to this show at least once before.
That's right, she had. Please don't be hurt. Please come back. Because we do. We love everybody, even
for
when
what
they
it's
lose.
worth, high spots and low shots are strictly kayfabe. Your performance was wonderful.
That's so true, and we love pretty much all high spots and low shots not named Mojo Rawley, because you
and Zack Ryder.
And Zack, because seriously, guys, and I hopefully one day
and
you'll
Natalia.
Listen. And Natalia. Hopefully one day all three of you will listen, because the only question I really have is, why do you even try? I want to know. What gives you the fucking right to try? Because it offends me. All right? It offends me. But anyway.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
I feel like I've gone to a very dark place this episode. It feels quite nice.
Is it bad that our low shots for Natalia are even more personal than our low shots for Eva Marie?
No, because this woman actually thinks it's okay to have FaceTime with her cats. It's not. It makes you a fucking loon. Anyway. If I can gain my bearings, my high spot. See, this is
personal up in here.
This is a very difficult high spot, but you know what my high spot is? Okay. Honorary high spot, because I just have to get this out of my system. Honorary high spot has to be Asuka, because apparently she has the ear of management. Oh, William, I don't agree with that title. Oh, but of course, Asuka, anything for you. So, Asuka's my honorary high spot. My legit high spot, though, has to be Kota Ibushi. Came in, still a part of the Cruiserweight Classic, came in for NXT, had a very competitive match with Buddy Murphy, and like you just said a few moments ago when we were making our extended apologies to Santana Garrett, these are always kayfabe, and Kota got the win. So it was a really great night for him. Kota Ibushi's my high spot.
I've got a dual honorary high spot and then a real high spot.
That is so fascinating. Let's do it.
So the dual honorary high spots aren't even people, they're countries.
Oh, interesting.
Australia and Japan represented tonight.
Yeah, they did. Big time.
Japan went 2-0 and Australia went 1-1, but the Australian that lost was Buddy Murphy, who still had an awesome performance and really turned a lot of people's eyes to him.
Exactly.
So, props to performers from those two countries.
Right.
That said, my actual high spot is No Way Jose.
Yes.
Because we talked about how much fire he showed both in the match and in the promo. I was in the Reddit live thread for NXT, and more people were saying, "Oh my God, there's actually money in No Way Jose tonight than have ever before."
And that's how you know a star is being made, when even if it's incremental, you see that groundswell of support.
Yeah, and
It's
dude, I'm just gonna go ahead and boast at this point, because as soon as No Way Jose debuted, we were talking about how much upside this guy, how much potential he had, and
Right.
everyone, even our fans, who are usually very level-headed, and reasonable, were saying, "Yeah, this is just another Fandango. He's not going anywhere." And now we get to this tonight, and even I don't know if it was last week, whenever it was that No Way Jose did the beatdown on Austin Aries.
Right.
Even Ecstasy, our most doubtful of commenters, said that No Way Jose showed him something tonight.
That's making waves. When you can win him over,
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So this promo tonight, I can't wait to see what he has to say about this. I'm telling you, man, just start your own freaking channel. But I can't wait to see what everyone has to say about this, because so many people, No Way Jose is just another dancer gimmick, just another Fandango, just another, freaking Santino or Funkasaurus or whatever. No, man, it's not the gimmick that makes the character. It's the performer. And No Way Jose is an infinitely superior performer to both Santino Marella and Brodus Clay. And from a pure charisma standpoint, I would even put him above Johnny Curtis, aka Fandango, as much as I freaking love Fandango.
Right. And if I could just tack something on to your No Way Jose assessment, you said it's the performer is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this particular performer in No Way Jose, and again, I mentioned it in our review of his match when he showed that babyface fire tonight, this is a character whose evolution, or this is a performer whose evolutions I'm going to be heavily invested in.
Yeah.
Because he just has that
Oh,
upside.
and
Like,
speaking of evolutions, Adam Rose was another one that he got compared to.
right.
And I love Ray Lapon, but I do legitimately think he could have gone somewhere, but his WWE career got cut short with the domestic violence thing.
Right, yeah.
You can't predict those things, and I think most people would agree that when he was Leo Kruger, he was awesome, so that probably means he would have ended up being awesome at some point in the future had he not had the domestic thing with his, I believe, wife. So, that's a different story. No Way Jose, talented, charismatic, good in the ring, just great, great size, great look. He is a 5-star performer, 5-star prospect as a pro wrestler.
Couldn't have said it any better. With that said, is there anything else you want to say about tonight's NXT?
I think we're good. I think we can close this out.
All right, brother. With that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Partner what question you have for our subscribers this week.
What is Bobby Roode going to be doing next week?
Oh, yeah, that's a question I'm curious about. As the bigger Bobby Roode fan between the two of us, what do you guys think Bobby Roode's going to be packing next week? I certainly would hope that he'll work heel, but he'll probably work babyface initially because of the pop. So I'm curious, what are you guys expecting? Get to talking down in the comments below. You guys already know all the other stuff to check out thanks to the magnificent backgrounds of my cohort and commentary here, and we will see you again for Cruiserweight Classic Episode 3 live reactions. It's gonna be fucking amazing. So until then, tune in and peace out.